Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is BMX Stream coming at you with part 2 on how to deal with kids with special needs. Part 1, I generally talked about the kind of qualities you should have when dealing with kids with special needs, and just a general description and general basis on how to deal with them. Today, I'm going to try and go into a little bit more detail on this. With kids with special needs, you need to make sure they have a behavior plan. It could be a behavior plan. It could be an IEP, which is an individualized education plan. Before you start teaching or before you start working with the kids for the year, make sure you read this document, because this document is basically your state's guidelines and goals for the child or children that you're working with. So it's very important for you to familiarize yourself with this document before you even begin working with kids with special needs. Once you're there, it becomes, you start to build a routine. You start to, become more familiar with the kids, depending on if you're a one-to-one or not, if you're a general aid or one-to-one. One-to-ones, obviously, the needs of the children are a little bit more severe than, a child who doesn't need a one-to-one aid. This can be a bunch of different things. This can be medical one-to-one. This can be one-to-one for, for an aid to stick with the child all day because of certain behaviors and to try and avoid them. This can be it could be a bunch of different things for a one-to-one aid to be helpful with. So they're very important, as well as, your general ed teacher aides, and as well as your special ed teacher aides. Let's see. Behavior plans are very important. The behavior plans keep your child in line, and they keep them focused on your goals. Or on their goals. You keep the behavior plan keeps the kid focused on their goals. So basically, it's very, very important for you to use this behavior plan and for you to implement this behavior plan. And not just implement it, but you need to implement it properly. It's one thing for anybody to just implement a behavior plan. Anybody can do it. But you need to be able to implement it properly in order for it to get the best effect on your child. This can be a bunch of different things. This can be the most common or the primary method of behavior control I've seen is token boards. Token boards are a very, very are a very, very good method for behavior control. Tokens, or some sort of a token board, is very important. It keeps them, like I said, in line with their goals. It keeps the child in line with their goals, and it helps them stay focused on the tasks that they need to accomplish, as well as giving them an incentive to want to work hard. So it's very important that you keep this behavior plan in mind, and that you keep it in line, and that you know how to implement it. Let's see. Nothing's worse than not being able to implement a behavior plan on a kid with special needs, because if you do it wrong, their behavior will probably act up tenfold or twofold. But it will act up, and you will not like the result. Let's see. Like I said, one of the primary methods I've seen for implementing a behavior plan is a token board. Token boards are basically ways, or it builds steps to helping the child accomplish their goals in the building, or what you're trying to have them accomplish. So it's very, like I said, very, very important for you to implement it. Behavior like this token, like a token board, usually they work for tokens, obviously, and you give them an incentive to work for. So let's say you get 10 tokens, you work for a 5-minute break, or you work for iPad, or you work for a piece of food, or you work for something like that, just to keep their mind focused and just to get them to work. So, you know, sometimes, like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the child, it depends on the needs of the child, and some children are, you know, medicated for their various disabilities. Some are medicated for ADHD, some are medicated for, you know, autism, some are, you know, they're medicated. But it's, you know, you'll see it. You'll see it more often than not when a child is medicated, because you'll see their behaviors even more than you usually would. Like, if a kid's not medicated, usually the littlest thing will set them off. So like if you tell them or redirect them to do something else, usually, you know, if they're not medicated, they would go off at you for that. They would like try and hit you, they would try and slap you, they would try and, you know, spit in your face, whatever it is that they do. They would just go off, and it's, you know, and you would notice it because you would be like, wait, why is this happening? You know, this hasn't happened before. So usually if that happens, that's probably the cause of it. They're not medicated, or they're not properly medicated. You know, they can, you know, some people under-medicate, some people over-medicate, and some people medicate just right. And, you know, it's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears in essence, with how people medicate their kids. Some days, you know, like I said, some days you'll have good results, some days you'll have bad results. Some days will really try your patience as a person, because you could try, like, some days you can try like everything to help stop this kid's behavior and they'll still act up. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. Just, you know, that's why the patience is very, very important to have. You can't let that stuff get to you. If they have their behaviors, you can't take it personally. It's just, you know, it's just their behaviors. They can't help it. You know, kids with special needs are just like kids with everybody else, or just like everybody, you know, kids with special needs are just like any other kid. They just do things a little differently. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're stupid. No, it's not. That's not it at all. It's just, you know, they have a different methodology, and they have a different skill set, and they have a different, you know, a different way of doing things that, you know, it might not necessarily be good for you, but, you know, it's how they work and how they function. So sometimes how they function could, you know, could be, you know, it could, like I said, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. It just depends on the child. Let's see, what else can I talk about? One of the disabilities you'll encounter is ADHD. And as a person with ADHD myself, I know I have ADHD. I'll tell you a little bit about it. ADHD is a disability that's on, it's a disability, but it's not disabling. It's not, meaning it's not an academic disability. Like, it doesn't affect your academic performance. It just affects how you get there, if you know what I mean. Like, all right, for example, like, I have, for my ADHD, for my educational career, I have always had trouble paying attention to lectures. And me, you know, sitting through a professor, or sitting through an elementary school teacher and sitting through a lecture, for me was difficult. Because I couldn't, you know, I couldn't sit still. I was kind of fidgety, and I couldn't stay with, you know, I couldn't stay with it. Like, I could, you know, my mind would wander. I'd look out the window. I'd think about other things. My mind would daydream. Test prep was very, very hard for me. Well, test prep sometimes was hard for me. I was good with memorization, but, you know, having the notes and being able to study was kind of a problem for me. Let's see, what else can I say? Like I said, ADHD is a disability, but it's not disabling. It doesn't really affect anything. It affects, I shouldn't say that. Of course it affects a little bit. It affects my social skills a little bit. Let's see, there's 2 different types of ADHD, or there's 2 different subdivisions of the ADHD disability, which is predominantly inattentive and predominantly hyperactive, and I am both of those. Predominantly inattentive, like I said before, you have trouble paying attention to lectures, or teachers talking, and your mind wanders and you're thinking about other shit and you're thinking about other things, and your mind just races off into a different direction. Predominantly hyperactive is the fidgety, jumpy nature and component of the disability. You can't stand still, you can't sit still. There are ways to cure it. There are ways, well, not really to cure it, but there are ways to combat it to where the symptoms are not as prevalent. You can change your diet. Certain things may affect your may be part of what's causing your disability. There could be other things, like you may need to be medicated. Not every body type supports medication. That's definitely mine, because mine doesn't support medication, because I've tried it. I've been medicated. I've been on 3 different medications. I've been on Strattera, which is it's not a depressant or a stimulant. It's more of like a neutral medicine, so it didn't really do anything for me. Let's see, then I was on Ritalin, and Ritalin is a stimulant, and then I was on Adderall. And the reason why I was off both of these medications is because I found that I was becoming more aggressive than I normally am. So, I was like, I would have like aggressive thoughts and not aggressive tendencies, but I would have aggressive thoughts. That's mainly the reason why I'm off medication now and trying to combat the disability myself. I'm having some success, but it's not entirely curable. Unfortunately, it is one of those disabilities that lingers with you. Sorry to say, but I just keep going along and keep trucking. Alright guys, that was a little bit more on how to work with kids with special needs, as well as my own personal experiences with ADHD and my own personal experiences with disability. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you guys got a lot out of it, as much as I continue to do on a day-to-day basis through my job. I will keep posting videos. As always, people, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.